not a beer, but it's still get.
What is that? What do you got
It's a
there?
tiny Diet Coke.
Oh, it's a little baby Diet Coke. Look at that.
No, this is showing how old we're getting on this podcast. Is that we used to like
Drinking
crack
Diet
beers
Coke.
and talk
I know,
about
right?
like doing all that. What beer are you drinking today? And it's like today I cracked
I'm
a
drinking
tiny
a
Diet
water.
Coke.
There you go. Yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I am Corey Insco, and I'm joined by Mr. David Gussler. David, how you doing?
Good, man. I feel like we had a reunion like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. Had the whole band back together, and then here we are again. It's just the two of us. So
I know.
Swift decided to ditch us again tonight. So
well, I have to say, so let's go back. Let's it's been a little while since we've recorded an episode, which is on us. Summer got busy. Things are happening in the evenings. We're doing our best. But we haven't done an episode. Was the last episode the one that I left y'all a gift? I don't think we've done one since then.
That is correct. Like an actual true episode. We've done a few soccer and coffees here, or
right?
Preview episodes, but no.
That was the last true episode. Matt did his preview last week that we dropped as a full episode just to get something out last week. But as far as a truly traditional episode, I just drop that gift on y'all, and then we go away for 2 weeks and just let it marinate for a little while. That's very on brand for us. I feel like that's something we would do. It's like let's blow this up and then move along and not talk about it.
We got a lot of traction about that song, and then we just disappeared for 2 weeks. It's fine. That's totally. I feel like Johnny was back on the show, and Johnny just said, "Yeah, we're gonna take a nice break after doing that. It's fine."
Yeah, that's because again, we're going back to our roots of the show to do something like that. It's very on brand for the Mint City Soccer Show. So here we are. Yes, Matt. Again, talking about people being busy. Matt's got a lot going on this week. He's got some travel coming up, so he's prepping for that, which is very understandable. So it's just me and David this week to take you through looking back at a pretty awesome week of Charlotte FC soccer. We had 7 points last week. Again, Matt talked about it a little bit last week, but we had the win against DC on last Saturday, going back a week. We had the 2-2 crazy draw with Orlando City and the red card and all that madness. The game I have a lot of conflicting emotions about how we got that result, which Matt, I think, very, very aptly described as a draw that felt like a win, that felt like a loss, or however he described it. It felt very true to how that match felt, but then capped it on Saturday with a big 2-0 win at Philadelphia. So yeah, we're going to spend most of the time. We won't really go back to the previous two games too much. We want to focus more on Philadelphia. Some of the other stuff might come up as we talk about it, but we want to talk about Philadelphia a little bit and look ahead from there. So yeah, let's just dive into it. Right now, Charlotte FC, officially sits in 4th place, I believe, in the Eastern Conference. Let's just, before you get into the match, if we talked at the beginning of the season and said, all right, 20 matches in, we are 4th place in the East. Like, what?
That's the title of the episode. Like, what? No, yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
I was going to say, like, I was actually thinking about that earlier today. I know we were texting about, like, doing the show and everything like that. And on my drive, I was like, man, I kind of want to touch on this, that we're in 4th place in the East right now. And if you asked us back in February, I think a lot of us were like, oh, yeah, it'd be great if we were like 6th, 7th, or 8th right now. Yeah. And, just getting into the playoffs, Dean showing improvement year over year. We had gotten rid of 2 of our 3 DPs. And here we are right now that we still haven't really signed, quote unquote, all the weapons we potentially could. We did sign, Lilo Abada during this season so far in that first window. And we're running with, I guess, technically just 1 DP. And I mean, I guess you do have 2 with Brecht, but
technically 2, but really 1. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But here we are. And for a very sliver of time on Saturday, we were in 3rd place until Red Bulls came back and scored and beat us with goal differential or something like that. But yeah, it feels great. And I almost have to catch myself because I'm like, I'm getting my hopes up a little bit. I'm like, ooh, this season's feeling pretty good. And I want to keep this feeling going, but I also don't want to just like I guess I don't know how to say this, but I don't want to expect the world of them. Correct? Like right now, like what I say at this point, do I expect them to win MLS Cup? Like, no, I'm not going to come on record and say that and expect that. But it feels kind of good to be like, we could host a playoff game finally after 3 years, which I know we were rewind 3 years ago. We were like, we got this in the bag, hosting a playoff game. We've got this. And then we had Miguel Angel Ramirez, you know what I mean? So
then that happened. Yeah.
then Christian Latanzio happened, and then here we are. But the good news is, I guess the thing I have to reflect on is that it's been a really good journey this year. I mean, if you look at how last year went, last year we had a tragedy start this beginning of the season. You had Christian Latanzio that was struggling very early on. We were missing play pieces. We had, I don't want to say scandal, but locker room issues with Andre and Nuno, et cetera.
Off the field stuff.
Off the field stuff. And then here we are like going into it and we eke into the playoffs. And it just felt very much like what a hell of a season, right? And then here we are going into this off season, and I wasn't expecting much, right? But here we are sitting in fourth in the East and going into the month of July that we're right there in it. And we still have the ability to add players and make even bigger impact. And that's a really great feeling, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I will say the caveat, people will probably call us out on it. Like, we're probably more technically fifth because Columbus Crew still has 3 matches they have 3 matches fewer than we've played. But still, I mean, the point still stands. I mean, like, I think we talked a lot, or at least I kind of mentioned early in the season, I felt like this was very much a rebuild. And so to see, and I think it still is, like, I think looking at the roster, it's still that phase. And so to see us having a chance to be in the top 5 of the league is huge where this team is, knowing that it only has places to grow from there. And then again, like, I just love seeing, and we'll get into the actual match in a second. I kind of took us on a detour just looking at the table, but
it's good.
I mean, only giving up 20 goals all season is still just huge. Ridiculous. The only team in the East that's given up fewer is Columbus. Maybe even the only team in MLS that's given up fewer is Columbus with 17. But
I believe
they played fewer matches. That's just nuts, especially when you talk about what we were doing last year. So I love where this team's at. We'll get into the actual match in a second, but just wanted to kind of take some time to point out the fact that, like, this team's in 4th place in the East right now. It's a good time to be a Charlotte FC fan. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
The team's actually starting to get some publicity a little bit, right? Like, I don't know if you saw MLS power rankings come out. Dude, it's power rankings. As an NFL fan, and you watch that, and you're like, they just move people around left and right. But the fact that, like, power rankings that the league is putting out and the writers are putting out have Charlotte, like, in the top 10 of the league, and we're actually on the graphic on the image right before you even click the article versus having to scroll all the way down to the bottom and be like, do we go down another spot or we stay maintained? No, we've actually gone up, and it's been a really fun journey because it's been, I mean, technically speaking, each year we've improved. So, and here we are, we're improved to the point where this time last year we were not as good as we were, and we're already better than where we were at this time last year. So can things turn and go for the worse? I mean, yeah, absolutely. But we're on pace to actually finish much better spot than last year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's get into the actual match a little bit against Philadelphia. Let's start with the lineups like we typically do. And I think the obvious biggest part of the lineup that we saw coming out was good old Ben Bender getting back in the starting lineup for the first time since what, like last September, October? When was it exactly? Something like that.
Yeah. It was ironic. It was actually against the Philadelphia Union in Charlotte when he got injured last. And so I know the commentary from the game said it's been almost, since last September that he started a game for Charlotte FC. And, Matt touched on it during the little preview or recap episode last week. The reason Bender got the start is because Scott Arfield had a red card and made an awful decision and tackle and was suspended for a game, right?
And it happens. Yeah.
It's funny because 4 months ago we were talking like, how is Ben Bender going to get any minutes? How is he going to start? How is he going to get, is he going to be a legacy player? And here we are, fortunately and unfortunately, that we have Bender starting for us in this game for against the Philadelphia Union, because unfortunately Scott Arfield is out with a red card. Breck Hajere has not been playing at his quote unquote DP or even high TAM level player. Nikola Petrovic has not been consistent in the starting lineup from that point of view as well. So, kudos to Ben Bender for coming in and at least making the most of his minutes that he had in this game. So,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Small world. He is kind of that chaotic attacking mid there a little bit, right? Like, he's not the strongest in defending, and he creates chances sometimes out of just the most ugliest plays, and things happen when he does that, right? So, credit to him at least for making the most of this start for him, at least.
I feel like our attack needs a little chaos. Like a little chaos is good for us going forward. It's something we haven't had a ton of in our history. So I'll take a little chaotic energy from Ben Bender. But no, I mean I think to your point, I think early in the season there were times where you look at the roster and you're like, well, yeah, I mean, we're just so loaded in the midfield. Like like you said, where do we put Ben, or where does he go, or do we look at like moving some people off the team or to Crown Legacy or whatever just to make some room in this really crowded midfield? But yeah, at this point, it's more like, well, who do we want to play? Who do we want to put in that spot? Because the guys that we thought would be kind of the natural people to come in and play that attacking midfield role just did not really come through in there. So for that reason, I was excited to see Ben in there, and I was excited to see him play well because we know he's been playing well with Legacy. We'd seen some good minutes from him coming with in substitute action in previous matches, so I was really excited to see him start. And then I thought it was exciting to see him play pretty well. I enjoyed kind of watching him out there play, and we'll see if it sticks or what kind of happens to the lineup. I feel like we've had other players who've come in for one match and looked really, really good in that role. Pekovic being one of them from earlier in the season, and then kind of just slowly disappear into thin air. So we'll see if it sticks, for the short term. But I was excited to see him. I like Ben Bender. I know there's mixed opinions on him. I like seeing him play, and so it was good to see him out there and playing well.
Well, and we'll touch on this later, but obviously because of red card or yellow card accumulations, there's gonna be another missing player later on, which we'll touch on. And I think that unfortunately opens the door for Ben Bender a little bit again for this next match against Houston. So, but no, I thought he did okay. Like, it wasn't like someone that I want to see out there starting every single minute, 90 minutes every match for us in that position. And
sure,
but how crazy is it to look at this starting 11 on paper and go, our number 9 is Patrick Agyemang, which is a super draft pick. I think a second round draft pick. And then our number 10 here is a number 1 super draft pick 2 years ago. So our 2 attacking middle of the players are basically MLS super draftees in MLS starting 11 last game. Pretty crazy to look at it from that point of view.
It really is. I was looking back. Wasn't Patrick picked earlier than that? Wasn't he a first round pick, or am I wrong on that?
Maybe. No, I think you're right. I think it was Privet, or Privet was a second or third round pick. No, you're right, because we traded up for Pat. That's right.
Yeah,
you're
Pat
right.
was. Right. Yeah, we got Diop at 1 overall, and then we got Patrick 12th. I had to do a quick Google because I feel like
he wasn't the number 1 pick.
He wasn't the number 1 pick. He was a first round pick.
But I mean, just even looking. I mean, again, just looking at this on paper again, though, like you have Pat Agyemang starting, Ben Bender starting, Andrew Privet starting. That's 3 MLS Super Draft picks starting for 72 plus minutes in this game and gets us a win. And then you also got a MLS lifer like Brant Bronico that's been here for a while. So 4 out of our starting 11 are players that 3 years ago most people would never even heard of or been excited on paper to have them join the team, which is crazy to look at. So
and again, like, not to keep harping on the future is bright kind of storyline that we've had for so long, but that's what makes me so excited about this team is there's a really solid foundation and a lot of room on the roster side to make it better, to add some key pieces, to fill some gaps. And then you think about, okay, if we bring in a striker, if we bring in a number 10, then you've got these guys who've already proven they can play at this level well that come in off the bench and give that change of pace. Like it just gives you so many more options to be able to do that. So again, just exciting. But yeah, good to see him get out there and play some again, because we're going to need him for probably at least the next match, if not a little more. So I hope he continues being solid in there. And we'll go from there. But all right, so anything else starting line? Everything else was pretty much the normal thing we've been seeing rolled out the last few matches. So nothing really jumped out to me in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you had Vargas, Abada play, and they played, I think, overall pretty well. Defense has been super solid. And Brent Bronico started for this game. I know he didn't start in the previous game because for Scotty Arfield was starting
Yeah.
in place of Brent Bronico, and Brant's been playing pretty well, I would say. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get into some moments later on, but I mean,
Yeah.
something says something about the guy that just consistently gets into space and creates moments there. Could the finishing here and there be a little bit better? Sure, that's for everybody on the team because we're
Sure.
one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. But Brant's been pretty solid of late.
Yeah. No, he has. I mean, and I would say, I mean, we can talk about it more as we get to start working through the game, but like the thing is, like, yeah, could he be better at finishing? Yes, but he's also not who I'm not expecting him to be a finisher, but it was still nice to see him in some really nice positions, kind of in the second half. There.
Correct.
So let's go ahead and get into it. So we're talking about how big of a win this was, how amazing things was, but like it didn't start very pretty.
No.
It was not. It was not
No,
the
it was
most
not.
confidence building start of a match I've ever seen. I mean, we'll talk about very, very early on. I guess we should go ahead and talk about the what I put in the notes is what the hell was Kalina doing aspect of the match in the first 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and yeah. I mean, I guess that's the question. What the hell was
there you go.
Kalina doing?
I have no idea.
Thank God for Melanda being alert and getting back there and clearing it off the line. But that was a wild little moment at the beginning of the match.
Well, and Philly, I don't know if Philly saw something, but Philly was pressing a lot to start that game. And they were trying to put some pressure on the back line. I don't know if they expected us to kind of be a little bit more lax back there or not, but Kalina was there. I think there was a time right before when he lost the ball where he almost lost the ball or got very close to, turning it over. And I was like, oh God. And I know we were talking pregame about or pre-show about this, but I don't know what it is with Kalina playing in Philly, but there was a time either last year or the year before where he did something very, very similar and we got scored on. And I'm like, it was this game. He passed it directly to Philadelphia, right? Like at the beginning of the half. And it like almost had a shot on goal from a creation perspective. So you had that. And then he also turned the ball over. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was distracted by the Philadelphia drum going on or the bridge in the background or a raccoon coming on the field. I don't know what it was, but someone's got to help him out, yell at him, tell him, get rid of the ball. But we almost had a disaster in the first 5 or 10 minutes there. And luckily Philly kind of put a little bit of a lackluster push on the ball there where Melanda was able to kind of save us there at the last
very
second.
Casually save it too. I got to say, like, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, he did a good job with it. He cleared it off the line. And he like kept possession. It wasn't like just a blast it wherever.
Correct.
But he was very casual with how he strolled back to get it.
He was
almost
very
like
calm, cool, and collected. Like, it is
what
what it is. It's fine.
Which I guess is what you want him to be. But I'm like, did I miss a whistle somewhere? Like, is the play dead?
Right.
Why is he just jogging back to get the ball? But it made it work. But yeah, I mean, Kalina, I mean, we've said it, or I think maybe Matt said it last week, but I'll also agree with it. Like, I think Kalina's having like an all-star season. I mean, he has been unreal back there. I mean, saved us in just countless moments and countless matches. But he still has these moments. I'm like, what do you like? I don't know what it is. If he's trying to do too much, he wants to stay on the ball a little bit too long, and there's just like sometimes just get rid of the ball. Like, there's just no reason. And he's done this his entire 3 years in moments. He just always has had these moments where he'll just like wait until the last possible second to get rid of a ball as he's getting closed down on hard. And it's just unnecessary. And so whenever he does it and it turns into something like that, it's just so frustrating because otherwise he can be, I mean, he's clearly so talented and one of the best keepers in the league back there. But like, it's just little moments where it's like, don't overthink it. Don't try to do too much. Just sometimes get the ball to somebody, get it out from your feet, get back in goal, please. So we don't have these little moments. But yeah, it was not the most confidence building first 5 minutes of the match for me.
No, it as the great Michael Scott once said, "Kiss, man, just keep it simple, stupid." So, but no, I mean, credit to Kalina though. He made up for it later in the game, which we'll talk about. Playing an all-star level game, I almost had a blunder at the beginning of this. Even if that would have happened, I think he's had 8 clean sheets, either 8 or 9 clean sheets.
Yeah,
which is the most in the league as of this past Saturday. he's played lights out. So even if that was I would have been angry. I would be sitting here on the show and be like, I can't believe he did that. But I would not have been like, oh my God, cut the guy or get rid of the guy. He's been lights out this year for sure.
He might have 9 clean sheets if FootMob is right. I was just looking at this.
9.
I think he might have 9 now. But yeah, no, I mean it's still a little wonder. I'm not. Oh yeah, I mean yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean it's just he's been amazing, but it's just little things where I'm like, come on, let's not put ourselves in really awful positions like that. But beyond that, first half, we don't have a ton to talk about because I mean, honestly, it wasn't the best half for us. I feel like Philadelphia had the majority of the good chances, the majority of the momentum. We really didn't have, a whole lot going on in that first half. So what was your kind of reaction watching that first half and seeing how it kind of transpired there when going into halftime 0-0? How are you feeling at that point?
Yeah, I was a little worried, to be honest with you, heading into the half because, like you said, like we had that kind of, I won't say almost blunder with Kalina, but it seemed like Philly kind of controlled the first half a little bit. Yeah. And what worried me a little bit was that Philly kind of had moments and kind of controlled the beginning of that half, but we're also missing some key pieces that's usually in their starting 11. Like Gazdag was playing internationally at the Euros, who's one of their, I think, the leading goal scorer for them this year is already, I think, 10 goals. And so they're missing a key goal scorer, and they were still putting shots on goal. They were still creating chances, and they were keeping possession. So that worried me a little bit. I also worried that the Heat maybe, have gotten to our guys and their guys a little bit because I don't know if I know living in the South, especially living in South Carolina, 100 degrees summertime, pretty normal. But in Philly, it was 100 plus degrees in Philly, which is not the norm for them. So I wondered if that got to them a little bit, but that was the only thing that was really concerning was that, we weren't creating much chances. We weren't creating a lot of shots. And here we were going into a game where Philadelphia's missing key pieces. And I mean, frankly put, like they're desperate for a win because they have not won at home very much this year. Their coach is getting on the hot seat. They're getting a lot of chatter about an aging roster with like their quote unquote stars becoming aged. And then they're relying a lot on academy and youth players to play. I mean, if you look at their goalkeeper in this game, I think Andrew Rick, 18 years old, first start ever. And we couldn't really do much with him on the first half. And I was like, great, this is going to be one of those things where Corey, I know you're a Panthers fan, but anytime that we as a Panthers fan, we go up against a team and I'm like, their backup quarterback's playing, I'm like, oh, we're going to lose this game. Like the Panthers are going to do something stupid that we're going to lose this game. That's how I kind of felt seeing that was that we're going to be like, oh, we got a backup first time 18-year-old keeper starting for Philly. We're not going to score a goal. It's going to be a clean sheet. So that's how I felt in the first half. How about you going into the halftime?
It's amazing how cynical we are as Charlotte Sports fans.
Well, that's what the Panthers and Hornets do to us. It's fine. Everything's fine.
We're just used to this pain and it's normal. No, I mean, I totally agree. And it wasn't like we were without chances. I mean, I know like Abad, I think really had a shot on goal. And then probably the best chance, I believe it was off a corner, but Patrick Agyemang had a pretty good opportunity at a header right in front of the goal that he just skied over it. I mean, it wasn't an easy shot, but he was right there with a pretty clean look at it. So we had some chances there. It wasn't like we didn't have any, but overall, I just felt like we weren't as in it as I would want us to be. And that wasn't nothing really super impressive. Nothing that was making me really excited about what we were doing in that first half. So was interested to see how they would come out in the second half. Because again, like this is a chance to, like you said, this is Philadelphia. Yes, they're having kind of a down season, but beating Philadelphia on the road, even though they've lost more in their home stadium than they have like ever before, it feels like. Getting a win up there is huge. And so I wanted to see a little more from our players coming out and really fighting for that win and trying to get it, because that was going to be a huge 3 points for us to get against them on the road with a really tough stretch of matches coming up here. And any points you can get on the road is huge. So I wanted to see how they would come out of halftime, and I was pretty happy with what I saw in the second half overall. And before we get like too deep into it, like the actual details of this one, like I feel like this is something, and I'm not the tactical guy. Like you're not the one you want to ask about tactical stuff with soccer for me. It's not my world. But I feel like I've seen this season with Dean Smith. I mean, we all love Dean. If you don't, I have questions. But I think one thing I've seen this season is how we come out differently in the second half when we have a bad first half, excuse me.
Yeah.
And the difference that makes. The one I believe, if I'm not mistaken games, but like, Atlanta's one I think about a lot. Like,
Yep,
a
exactly.
pretty slow, rough first half, and then second half just world beaters. And there's been other examples. That's the first one that jumped to my mind, but just seeing the difference in the team half to half. And now we have the opposite version when what was the torrential rain game?
You're talking about like New England. I can't remember. Like New England, we crapped.
There was one where it poured down rain and we
Yeah.
sucked in the second half. That's fine too. But in general, I feel like I've seen, and I don't know if we're making like actual tactical adjustments. That's where I don't know, but at least seeing a different energy with the team, or more fluidity or more connection as they come out in the second half, and they clearly come out with a mission of like, all right, we've settled in. We know what we want to do. We're going to come out in the second half and we're going to do what we want to do and create some chances. And they did. I mean, it was just a totally different look in the second half, creating a ton of chances, and eventually leading to two beautiful goals from Patrick Agyemang within 10 minutes of each other, early in the second half. So really excited about how they came out there.
Well, I think that speaks to Dean as a manager and a coach, because I mean, even look at Orlando, right? Like if you put the Orlando game
Yes.
where we had our attacking mid go out on a red card in the first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The past 2 years I'd have been like, shit, let's park the bus, guys. Hopefully we can get away with a draw here, right?
Yeah.
But we scored multiple goals in a game where we're down to 10 men. Second half, we even went up ahead for a little while, and I know that game was a bag of mixed emotions, where a draw feels like a win, a loss and a draw at the same time. With Dean at the helm, we always feel like we at least have a chance. I feel like currently, where it's not where we're just going into a game and we better remember Christian Latanzio. Hey, I'm gonna sub in Jan Soboshinsky and we're gonna run a 5-3-2 to help park the bus for the last 30 minutes of the game, right? Because he was not confident enough in his tactics and ability to adjust. And hey, let's park the bus and bring in 5 defenders to hopefully just weather the storm. It was like the John Fox method of soccer, right? Just bend but don't break. But here we have a manager who isn't scared to go for it, and also isn't scared to put his foot on the gas if we're down a man or tactics aren't working. Okay, we're going to adjust and sub, right? So kudos to Dean, kudos to the guys for buying into what he's saying at halftime. Who knows what he's saying, but sure, sometimes it's not great.
It's working, whatever it is. Just keep doing it. But no, Orlando City is a good example of that. Now we're kind of thinking about it, because you're right. Like we clearly, had to adjust, and we did, about how we played that match. And it wasn't just adjust to, like you said, park the bus and hang on for dear life. It was like, all right, be smart about our opportunities. Find those moments to counter. And we did that, and we obviously had the goal that we scored to go up, but like we had other chances too. They picked the moments really intelligently about when they could find times to attack without exposing themselves at the back. So again, it's nice to have a coach. Like
it is. There's a question later that talks about Dean that we're going to pull up during the Q&A. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, it feels nice, and I don't ever want this feeling to go away. Is what it is.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Keep him forever. All right. I'm just saying, all Dean Smiths are great. I'm just going to throw it out there. Just it's a great name for coaches. All coaches named Dean Smith are amazing. All right, so let's talk about the goals. The first one, 56 minute. I believe it started with Ben. There was kind of a little back and forth play, but really the straight lead up into it is Ben finds Yuri out wide after getting clobbered, right before getting clobbered.
Yeah. Which should have been a foul, but they let the momentum and play on. So which was
that was a great play on. And then Yuri crosses it into the box. Patrick gets another chance at a header and just rockets it into the top left corner. I mean, there was so much speed on that shot. It was beautiful. Just a really, really nice goal. Just good positioning by Patrick to be there and just really put it away. So yeah, what were your thoughts on that first goal?
No, I think I know Matt Swift loves Yuri, so I know he was super pumped. I know if you follow him on Twitter, he was like, I really like Pat. I really like Yuri. And then after that play, he's like, I love Yuri and I love Pat. So no, it was a beautiful cross by Yuri. I mean, he has been just lights out solid as a defender for us, like super under the radar signing. I remember when Westwood T Gang, Matt Chantry kind of put the dots together when we were going to sign this guy and just put it out into the world, and it came to fruition. But I don't think anybody really was like, oh, who is this guy? I don't know who he is. He's okay, cool. He's going to come from Europe and play. Great. And has been a stellar addition to the team. Has been solid defensively. Has got a pretty good left foot from a free kick perspective and has had almost a few goals this year just by doing that. And then this play, he was able to just make a wonderful cross into Pat, and Pat was able to head that, and just, man, it was beautiful from that space. And, I feel bad for the 18-year-old keeper for Philly, because it's like, there's not much you can do in that situation. It was a hard cross, and it was just right place, right time, and then upper left corner. You can't do much with that.
No, absolutely, and I agree with you. I mean, your Erden's been strong. I was a little worried about him come back from injury. I feel like there were a few matches where he was clearly just rusty and getting back into it, and had some shaky moments. But I feel like we've seen him kind of come back into his pre-injury form. And especially this match doing that as well too. So that was really nice to see. Beautiful ball in. I mean, those are kind of the kinds of goals that you expect Patrick to score. Being that big guy. I mean, he's obviously got the speed. He obviously can run straight down the middle, but he's also a big dude that can get up there, take up space, and blast the header in. So that was nice to see. So we go up 1-0 there, and then just 7-ish minutes later.
Yeah.
We go up 2-0, and I am very excited, yelling at the TV in that moment. I want to kind of start with you, like your thoughts on, again, it was Patrick Agyemang, second goal, got an assist from Liel Abada. What were your initial thoughts on that second Patrick goal?
So I'm watching this live on the couch here in my home, and I'm like looking at it, and I see Pat kind of attacking his man, going head into the box. And I think it was Abada that was at the top of the box, kind of like wide open. And I'm like, Pat, pass the damn ball. Pass it. Just pass it, because like Pat creates chances, but attacking one-on-one sometimes is not his strongest suit. And sometimes we've all kind of said, sometimes he kind of runs like he's like a newborn giraffe, and the ball gets caught under his legs a little bit from time to time. And I thought that was about to happen. And I'm like, dude, just pass it to Abada. He's wide open. And then he takes a shot, and I was like, no. And then it just happened to go in, and I was like, yes, finally. It was great. So Laura's grandmother was actually watching the game with me, and I'm like, she goes, oh, he scored. I was like, yeah, I had no idea he was going to do that. That's great. So I kind of was, Monday morning quarterbacking it for a second and watching it and going, why would he do that? And then he scores. I was like, yeah, of course he did that. Great job, kind of situation.
Yeah, that was basically my reaction as well too. Is I see him take this ball, and you look, and he's got Abada at the top of the box, no one near him, just wide open top of the box. Correct. And that feels like the obvious move. Even if you go beyond that, like Bender is coming on the left by himself. Sure. Like there's so many options, and you just don't expect to see Patrick score that type of goal, right? Like that's just not the kind of. I mean, we've seen him like use his power and strength and speed to just kind of run at guys or hold up balls or be able to kind of beat a tackle and get around. Like that's fine, but like a little finesse, step over move in the box and then a left-footed strike. Like, I wasn't expecting like that. He doesn't score goals like that. Where did that come from? And so I was blown away with that goal. Just absolutely nuts, but really well done. It was just, I think even the reaction, I was watching the replay a little minute ago, of like, you see Abada at the top of the box, and he's like, basically like, I'm right here. Just give it to me. Then Patrick does what he does, and he's like, oh, wasn't expecting that.
I think Abada was everyone on the couch during that moment. Like, just pass it. Oh, great. Yes, do it. So, I mean, it was great to see, because Pat kind of went on a little bit of a cold streak there for us. I mean, I think it was like 6 or 7 games where he didn't score a goal. And I know and there was, dude, during those 6-7 games, it's not fair to be like, oh, he hasn't scored a goal during that time, because there were multiple chances. There were games where he had opportunities, could and should have had a goal during that time frame. So it was great to see him have 2 in this game, but he definitely had like he had that dog in him a little bit. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm feeling myself after that second goal." And I think not long after that, there was another opportunity where he was towards the bottom of the field and kind of like, again, not a typical shot from Pat, like 18 yards out, and kind of did this curling kind of shot.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked kind of good for half a second. Then it went over the goal. But I'm like, where's this Pat come from? Like this is interesting. This is nice. But it was really good to see him get his groove back a little bit. The Emperor's New Groove. He got his groove back.
I like it. No, I mean that was the other shot I was going to talk about too. Is that was another one that was just not what I expected him to do. I expect to see Vargas out there doing that kind of. He loves that. He loves that shot. Like he's loves that position and taking that same shot. But like, I don't expect to see Pat do that. And it's again, I think it's like a confidence thing. Like he gets that first goal. And he's clearly talented. I mean, he's young, he's raw, like he's got some places to grow, but he's got talent, obviously. And so he got a little confidence and just said, I'm gonna go for it on a couple of these shots. And that one that, the kind of curler from outside the box wasn't terribly far off. Like it was a decent little shot. So happy for him, impressed by that. Really good stuff. And just took a 2-0 lead, and at that point really never looked back. I mean, there were definitely some chances for Philadelphia that we can talk about. But I guess if we want to get straight into that, Philadelphia had chances, but Kalina just put on the cape and did crazy Kalina things. Like
he made up for that first half blunder almost instantly in that second half, because I mean, shortly thereafter, like Philly kind of had momentum there for a little bit of time right after that second goal. And, they made some subs, made some adjustments. So kudos to them for, they brought on Leon Flack a little bit, which is more of that possession style 6 or 8, depending on what it is. And, they started trying to control the middle and press a little bit more, but it obviously didn't work out for them because we got a stout Kalina back there. But I want to go back to Pat for 2 seconds here.
Okay, so go for it.
So with those 2 goals, so going back in time, Corey, if I would have told you that Pat is now tied for 4th leading goal scorer of all time for Charlotte FC at this time last year, would you have believed me if I said that? Think about that for a second. He is our 4th leading goal scorer. Do you know who he's tied with?
Oh man, who is he tied with? It's
an active player right now.
An active player. Is it Westwood?
No, it's Vargas.
Vargas?
So Vargas and him are tied for 4th with 9 goals each. Do you know who's ahead of them in second? Daniel Rios.
Wow.
Daniel Rios is our second goal scorer, and then Karol Swiderski is our number 1 goal scorer.
Yeah, I knew Karol was number 1. That was the obvious choice.
With that second goal, he passed Enzo Capetti as the 5th.
Wait, who's number 3? Who's number 3?
Well, so 3 and 4 is Kerwin and
okay, they're tied. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So interesting stat there from that perspective. I would have never thought that, but if you think about it, if Pat scores 2 or 3 more goals, he's going to be our 2nd leading goal scorer at the end of the season in our very short life of a club.
This is going to sound. I mean, it's going to sound bad, but I think it's meant to be. Like, I think that says more about our attack over the past 3 years than it does about
just
where Patrick is. I mean,
just a wee bit, but
I mean, the fact
I'm saying it because I want to celebrate Pat, but it is also at the same time kind of.
I know. I don't want to take away from that because we should celebrate Pat. I'm very happy for him, but that's more of like, and the fact that I'm obviously not a stat head, but like, it was really hard for me to think about beyond. I knew Swiderski was 1. I knew Enzo was probably lower than that because he didn't ever have a good. I would never would have guessed Rios up there, but like the fact that I had to really think hard about who else is down in like 3rd or 4th, because we're talking about not massive numbers down in 3rd and 4th.
It's really not. It's really not. So here's just, and I don't want to do this show us just reading stats all the time, but Karol Swiderski's number 1. Daniel Rios is 9. I'm sorry. So I was wrong on this. Daniel Rios, Patrick Ajame, and Kerwin Vargas are all tied for 2, 3, and 4 for 9 goals apiece. And
with Rios, like 4 of them came against Philadelphia, wasn't it? Like
correct, yeah. So then Enzo's 8th. Ben Bender is also tied for 5th and 6th with Enzo Capetti. Then Andre Shinyashiki 7th, Ashley Westwood's 5th, Yordi Reyna is 9th, and Justin Miram's 10th. So like very short window of goal scorers there. If Brant scores 1 goal, he jumps all the way up to 8th place in top goal scoring. So
amazing. Amazing. Oh man,
yeah,
when this team signs a DP striker that actually works out.
it's gonna
Other than
be
Swiderski, I don't want to knock
amazing.
on Swiderski. Swiderski was,
Yeah, sure.
he's
Yeah.
by far the best we've had in that role. But who boy, if we can get one that sticks, watch out. If this team can actually
Watch
score
out.
goals.
Yeah. So, but no, I want to make sure I celebrated that for Pat a little bit. But then, I mean, Pat's actually goals per match is 0.24, so he's right there behind Rios. Rios obviously is higher because he had 1 game with 4 goals, but he's not too far off from Karol Swiderski. So, and Pat's done that in 37 matches, so not
Yeah.
too bad for a MLS Super Draft pick. So
No,
super
again,
happy for that.
again, like I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy when he plays well. I'm really happy when he plays with confidence. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how his role changes when inevitably
Sure.
or hopefully inevitably we bring in some help up top this summer. But I'm just for the moment, just live in the moment, not think too hard about the future of that. Like I'm really happy for him to get this opportunity, and when he has matches where he takes that opportunity, has games like this, it's awesome. I love to see it. It's really great. So go Patrick on that. But yeah. So again, we talked about, you mentioned kind of Philadelphia started to put on the heat a little bit there later in the second half. Kalina put on the cape, did his craziness. Just again, like I don't just go back and watch the highlights of the saves from any of the past like 5 matches for Kalina. I mean, it's not that he's just making save. He's making just ridiculous reaction time, throw a hand up and pray kind of saves, and he does just enough. And he is just, I don't know what he's been on this season, but it has been super impressive because I mean, again, like we've talked about, they're having a down season. They were missing some players, but Philadelphia is a good, well-coached team that in past seasons plays very well at home. Like if they get 1 goal, in that 70th minute, 70 minutes range, this is a very different match. Like that's a much more nervy finish there. So him making some big saves, especially right afterward, was massive to keep us in this, or keep our lead, keep it comfortable, and let us kind of cruise into a win there. But also there were plenty of chances where we had to go up 3-0.
Yeah.
So not to discount that either. I mean, we talked about the 2 Patrick goals, but there were several. You talked about his other shot that kind of went over the bar. There was a nice little back and forth with Patrick and I believe Bronico driving into the box. Yeah. Just a nice save from Rick there to keep him from having a goal. So yeah, I mean, there was some other. Abada, I think, had a really the cross. I want to talk about the cross from Bronico to Abada. That was
right. That was
beautiful.
Yeah,
and just barely missed hit and went to the side netting. But yeah, there was a ton of really good attacking play. Even with the 2-0 lead, it wasn't like we were sitting back and just hanging on. We were still finding those moments to attack and be smart about it and make sure we were still defending and getting back and not getting beaten transition anywhere. But finding those moments and really kind of trying to take advantage and get the 3-0 lead to really put it away. Nothing actually worked out for us, but good to see how we played kind of in that final 20 or 30 minutes there.
And even Tavares even had a moment there where he was able to attack. And I know the goalie made a wonderful save, like made himself big, outstretched a little bit. And Tavares almost had a goal there on a big play and kind of a one-on-one situation there. But I do have to this, and this is just a silly moment here, but and not to go back in time. Philly had a lot of corners in that first half. Do you remember how many? Like it was like 4 or 5 in a row there.
It felt like 10 in a row.
Half?
No, that was first half. That was first half.
It was okay. I was looking at some of the stats, and that was one of the things I just saw here, and I was like, Philly had a ton of corners, but after that, they never did. They had like 4 or 5 in a row, and then they just disappeared. It was brutal. But I mean, think about this. Like we outshot Philly. We had more shots on target, more shots even off target, quote unquote, than Philly. We had 16 shots in the box. Take that, just put that into consideration of just how different this team is compared to the past 2 years. 16 shots in the box. We used to just go in the corner and dribble and hopefully cross it. And then uber cross or undercross it, and hopefully that's head gets on it, we would never have averaged 16 shots in the box. And I don't know. I love seeing that because that's showing that we're getting more confident and more aggressive in that box, even with Pat up top.
And I even think this season, I mean, definitely when you look back at last season's, but like even looking early this season, there were still some matches early this season where we didn't take a lot of chances or didn't get a lot of chances. It felt like, I feel like in past matches, like early season matches, we would talk about how we do everything right to get into that final third, and then it would all fall apart. Like the last pass was wrong, the shot was way wrong, like it was just not really getting there. So now we're even seeing the progression of we're still doing the nice build-up play and finding ways to get the ball into the final third, but then the connections in the box are much better than they were before. So we're seeing that confidence. We're seeing the team's ability to play together better, getting to know each other better, knowing kind of their roles and getting the right spots. It's just continued to improve. So that's been really fun to watch. I did want to. I forgot about one thing I made a note of that I wanted to talk about. I could watch Nathan Byrne run all day.
Oh yeah, Nathan Byrne is audition for like attacking mid roll there in the second half.
One, the way he runs, he has this very upright posture when he runs, and he just has the arms just chugging along. Like it's just watching him run down the field is one of my favorite things in the world. It's just his like gait and everything just makes me laugh. And he's super fast. Like it works for him. But his run from I think it was toward the end of the game, maybe like 80th minute or something like that. He gets the ball at midfield, and like you said, he pulled a Nabata where he just like, I'm just gonna go, and he just like ran straight down the middle of the field. No one stopped him. I don't know what they were thinking. They're like, what is this guy doing? He just charges straight down, gets to the top of the box, lays it off to Vargas. Vargas puts it over the goal, but just that run was amazing to see. And again, like that's when we're up 2-0. It's the closing moments of the match. We're trying to close it out, but it still shows this team, like if they see an opportunity to attack without putting themselves in danger, they'll do it. Even if it's a right back charging all the way to the other box to try to find an opportunity, like they'll do it and still not, give up silly goals or make themselves vulnerable, but still find those moments to attack. But I loved that play, watching him just charge half the field and get into an attacking area there. That was a lot of fun.
So I know we got on our little docket here. There's one little incident at the very end of the game. I want to give some stats after this, just some random stats where we're at halfway through the season almost. But unfortunately, towards the end of the match, Ashley Westwood got carded, and we needed him to make sure he had no card in this game because unfortunately now he has had the yellow card accumulation, which I don't know if you noticed, but during the game, there was a stat that popped up. And I think it said that Ashley Westwood was either number 1 or number 2 in terms of distance ran on the field this year in MLS.
Yeah. Which
I would have think about player coming back from huge injury, is playing, I say he's older, but he's technically younger than you and me. He's younger than both of us, but
but we're old fine. Now. I'm just kidding.
yeah, we are. It's fine. It's fine. But he has like, that's a crazy stat to think about. As a 6, has ran the most distance, but that's because he's played every minute of every game pretty much. And that to me, I think is going to be a pretty big loss. And not to go into the Houston Dynamo preview and everything like that, but that's going to be a pretty big loss for Charlotte. Not only just from a captain perspective, cool-headedness, but I mean, obviously he's showing he's all over the field and helps lead this team. So what's your thoughts on Ashley Westwood being missing and how much of an impact that's going to be this next potential game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's huge. I mean, he's the captain. He feels like, just even beyond being the captain, he just feels like the heart of this team in a lot of ways. Even if he doesn't, show on the stat sheet, just the way he's out there playing, the way he's out there talking, and he's just such a huge integral piece of keeping this unit together. So I really hate to see him not be in that match, especially a really tough big match down in Houston. I really hate that, but I really was frustrated just by the way he got the yellow card. I thought it was a ridiculous yellow card. I mean, sometimes Charlotte FC has a history of getting really stupid yellow. No, we just get some really stupid yellow cards sometimes too. Like we do. It's like, why did we do that? Like that was definitely a yellow card. Why did we do that? That was really silly.
So on that note, just so you know, like one of the stats I was going to tell you, we are once again top 3 in the league in yellow cards.
Insane.
And here's the thing. So DC has 56 at number 1. St. Louis is 56 number 2. We have 55 at number 3. Like, we just have a history of it. I don't understand it.
I know. And again, sometimes I don't, it's, we do it to ourselves. This one, it was absolutely a foul. I mean, it was a foul.
Sure.
But it didn't seem like it was any kind of egregious level that it warranted a yellow card in the moment. It didn't seem like an especially hard foul. It wasn't like trying to stop an attacking opportunity, like a great attacking opportunity. It was also like deep into stoppage time. Like we are deep into stoppage time when this happens. And so for him to flash the yellow, the ref to flash the yellow at that point, I was irate. Because that just felt like for him to miss a match because of that yellow card is ridiculous. So that was super frustrating.
Like can you imagine that being like a roster bonus is for him to play every game and then he missed a game because of that? Like I would be flipping out. Like, oh, I don't get my bonus now. Like, well, yeah, so just not even just the impact in the field, but just that. Yeah. So it sucks. I mean, it's and I know you and me are not the big stat guy or insider guy or anything like that, but just not to put you on the spot, but looking ahead for Houston here, who do you put in Ashley's spot now? Because think about like that midfield. We've seen Scott and Brecht not potentially quote unquote perform, but now we've got Brandt, Diani, Bender, plus those other two. Who do you have going that 6th role now? Is it Brandt again, or do you put Diani back there? What's your thoughts from that point of view?
I think I put Brandt.
I think
I'd like to see Brandt out there. I mean, again, because the way he played on Saturday, I thought he played pretty well. So I would definitely put him out there. So I guess if I had to like my midfield, if I had to pick it right now, just kind of looking at the roster, my midfield would be, I guess we just do Bender, Bronico, and Gianni. Like that would be my 3. I guess is which you unless.
I think about it. Junior Urso could potentially fill in that spot if he comes back from injury if he's healthy.
If he's healthy. I wasn't sure if he was healthy or not.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't really know who else you'd put in that midfield.
I mean, Dean's always played Brandt so far as an 8 or a 10, so
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he does keep Brandt in that role, in that attacking 8 or 10, and then put Junior Urso at that 6 potentially.
Yeah.
As Brandt Bronico says, I don't get tired, man. So during one of those press conferences a few weeks ago, he's like, I just run, man. I don't ever get tired. So kudos to him. So I think Brandt will start no matter what. Against Houston, it just depends on what the role or what Dean wants him to do.
Yeah, but again, it's just one of those funny things. We're looking at the midfield depth. I mean, it's interesting now when you lose a couple guys. You have somebody out with injury and you have somebody out with the yellow card accumulation. It's like you're looking at basically Gianni, Brecht. Those are kind of your Petkovic. Obviously, you can throw in there too, but. I
didn't think. I guess you could have him potentially.
You could throw him in there too.
Yeah.
There's combinations. There's different ways to line it up depending on what Dean wants to do, and obviously this is why he gets paid to do it and not me. But there's some options there. But I think it will be Westwood will be missed. We'll see kind of how that goes. And again, I'm just frustrated by the way the yellow card happened. If he did something stupid and made a really bad foul or was having too many conversations with the officials, fine, he does that and we get those yellow cards and he deserved it. But man, that just felt really harsh. Everything.
I think what really happened is earlier in the match, and I can't confirm this or not, but I think the referee said something about tea and Westwood got really pissed off and said that, you don't talk about my English breakfast or my Earl Grey that way. And then the foul happened, and the ref decided to put him in his place. So hopefully that was not the case. No, but we'll have to get our insider of the Westwood Tea gang to see if we know if that actually happened or not. But
there you go.
So before we go into fan Q&A and take a quick break here, but I've got like 1 or 2 stats here that I need to either correct myself from earlier, but also share. Clean sheets. Yes, we are leading the league with 9 clean sheets this year. LAFC's second with 7. Austin is 3rd with 6. Huge stat. That's
crazy.
Great. Dean owes the guys a ton of wine. All I'm about to say from that. He owes him a ton of wine.
I really enjoyed that photoshopped image from the social team. Was it this past
Him,
week that they did that? I enjoyed
just like
that.
a
That was
wine
good.
connoisseur with this, like, out in Napa Valley with it was great. So I don't know. I highly doubt that the admin for the Charlotte FC account is even listening to the show. But if they are, kudos to you, sir or
job.
ma'am. I appreciate you very much. So,
and also, this is an aside.
yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to mess you up, but also
Yeah.
thank you to the social team for posting on Threads. I just have to say, because
Oh.
I don't ever look at Twitter. I can't call it what it's actually called now. I don't ever look at it.
Twitter, yeah.
Which I feel like I miss out on a lot of soccer conversation and Charlotte FC content because I don't look at Twitter and I don't look at basically social media. So the admin finally got back into Threads and has been posting there fairly regularly for the past like week or two. So thank you for that. So I can actually see some of the content.
I wasn't on. Well, I haven't been using Threads that much because they weren't doing that. So now that you have, you've piqued my interest, sir. So I might jump back.
They're coming back. They're coming back.
It's the place to be. It's the place to be. All the cool kids are doing it. So, so clean sheet. Charlotte is at 9. Here's the one I wanted to just call this out, and it's so we are tied for goals conceded per match with the Columbus Crew with 1, right? But here's the crazy thing is that. Like think about how many goals in games we got scored on last year. We could not close a game out to save the life of us. No. And here we are, the exact same back line, and we are tied for first with goals conceded per match. Columbus has a better rate because they played less games, but it also helps us potentially because Columbus could get scored on a lot more the next 3 games, and we can be better. So I just wanted to share those 2 stats other than I was going to share the yellow card stat because that was interesting that we're still way up there. But it's very different this year because, like, even though I don't know, it feels different with the yellow cards. Like last year, it was like it seemed like we got yellow cards for being flopping and argumentative.
Yeah.
This year, it seems like we're just fouling. I mean, it's some of the stuff we can't control, but
one specific player flopping and jawing a little bit maybe was a big part of that. No, I mean, I think you're right. The yellow cards do feel a little different. So I think that's totally fair. But I liked your point that all of these defensive stats you're throwing out are with this same back line and keeper.
Same keeper. Yep, exactly.
We didn't change anything from starting at Leagues Cup last year when we threw Privet in there out of desperation and it worked and he's been amazing. That back line, other than injuries here or there, hasn't changed. And they're doing this now, and that's credit to them. I mean, I don't want to just put it on Dean. I mean, clearly they've put in a lot of work and learned how to play together really well, and especially I think Malanda and Privet knowing how to play together in that central defensive area. Like I've seen a huge difference there. I mean, I even think about some of those goals last year. I think there were 2 or 3 games in a row where this goofy ball would get played in, and Malanda and Privet and Kalina would just stand there looking at each other as they hit the net. There were 2 or 3 times that happened, and you just don't see that. Like those 3 and the whole defensive unit are really together, know where they're supposed to be, know where their responsibility is, and it shows in those stats. So kudos to them and to the coaching staff for putting in a really good system that's worked out a lot this year. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Yep. Awesome, man. You want to take a quick break and get ready for the Q&A?
Let's do it. All right, everybody, we are back. Let's jump into some listener questions here in the second half of our show. The first one is from Greg Fenwick. He says, we always hear about wanting to get natural grass in Bank of America Stadium. How much is our current playing surface a strategic advantage? And do you think it is a large part of our home success over the past 3 years? If the club thinks it is a strong advantage, then is this a good enough reason to not consider grass?
Well, I'm glad. So one, Greg, thanks for always asking a question. You always put one in for the show anytime that we ask for them. But I'm glad that we're answering this question. It's a very serious question. I'm glad we're having it, especially with 2 of the non-tactical guys on the show to answer it. But no, I would say it's not I mean, I guess it could be a strategic advantage because, the team's used to playing on turf per se, but like I don't know if you've been out to the training facility. I know it's close to your neck of the woods, Corey,
Mhm.
but they have both, I think, pitches out there. They have natural grass and turf. So that way, depending on the opponent and the field they're playing on, they're able to practice on both. So I don't think there's any kind of advantage or disadvantage. And I think most teams out there probably do something similar just based off of the rest of the league because you've got services like New England that plays on turf, Seattle plays on turf. Most of the NFL stadiums are
Right.
with artificial turf. So it's, I don't think there's anything. I don't think it, if Ashley Westwood goes to David Tepper and says, "Hey, I know you just put this new stadium bid out there, keep the turf." I don't know if Tepper would be like, "You got Ashley or not." So
Yeah. No, I agree with you. First of all, the training facility near me, because I drive by it like every couple days, they've built like 100 fields out there. It's crazy what
have they
they've blown
really?
up. Yeah, a ton of like
Wow.
clearly like for like academy or even some community
Sure.
things, but like they've got the main team facility, but along Monroe Road, which is right by where I live, they built like all like coming out to the street. There's just fields everywhere. It's very
It's
cool.
awesome.
You can already see some of the youth teams and academy teams out there playing. Very neat. It's a cool place.
It's really cool to see because I used to live out in Monroe. It feels like forever ago, like 2.5, 3 years ago. And
Yeah.
driving by that, it used to be just this empty business
Yeah.
center, business park. And now that sounds, I haven't been there since they've opened it. I'll have to make
Yeah.
sure I go out there next time I'm in Charlotte.
Yeah, it's sat undeveloped for a long time, and like those fields used to be used for like pickup, not even pickup, but like Saturday morning, like youth soccer. Throw a couple
Yep.
goals up and do it, kind of like soccer shots level stuff. But now it's cool to see what they've actually built out there. So yeah, very cool stuff. Anyway, that was an aside. I agree with you. I don't think. I mean, I'm also wondering how serious this question is, but I'll answer it as if it's a serious question. I don't. And David Kelly also has to follow up. So let me just kind of throw this up to you too. A related question. That's, David Kelly says, does our home training field turf hurt our ability to play on grass away? I agree with you. I'm pretty sure there's a natural grass field over there. Like, I think they have both.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. I'll double check that or someone yell at us if we're wrong. That's fine. I don't mind.
Corey, you need to do your investigative reporting and just go out there, break in and see and do a live Instagram show.
I did. I have to say, one time I did like on the way to breakfast. The breakfast place we go to on Saturday mornings is like we have to go past it on the way. And like one day I was with like my parents or something like that. I was like, I gotta drive you out and show you this. And so like I did like a slow roll past like the training facility and then you can like kind of cut through past the actual fields and then you come out anyway. Just some like little back way to cut through there. And like sure enough, I mean I can't remember which players it was. I mean I think one of them was Nathan Byrne. There was someone else, and they were like walking to the team bus. I think they were getting ready to travel to an away match or something like that when I was coming out, and they were just like staring at my car as I like slow roll past the training facility. So I think like they've already marked my like driver's license. If they see me slow roll past the facility again, I'm probably not allowed to come back. So I don't know if I can do the investigation we need here, but I'm pretty sure. And again, I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure there's both. So I don't think it's that's. I don't think it's any kind of advantage. And to your point too, there's so many other teams that have. I
mean, Atlanta has turf. I mean,
turf. Thank you. I can't think of the word.
Yeah.
They have turf. There's so many of those. The teams in NFL stadiums have turf. Like it's just kind of part of MLS, and I think it's not an advantage because like our players have to, get used to it as well. We're getting a lot of players that play internationally coming here to play, and it's a learning curve for them. So I don't think it gives any kind of advantage. I don't know if that necessarily hurts us either, again, because we're able to train on both. So I think it's just part of playing in MLS is that you have to be used to both surfaces. You have to be used to playing on a baseball field. You have to be used to all kinds of weird stuff that you don't usually have to worry about when you're playing.
I didn't even think about the Yankee
soccer.
Stadium. God.
I will never forget that. Even when they moved to a new stadium, when they moved to their brand new stadium, I'm still going to think about the baseball field.
So what you're telling me is Tepper needs to go out and build a makeshift baseball field out there and then throw a turf on top of the pitching mound and be like, all right, boys, have fun.
Hey, how do you simulate playing on that field? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just don't think it's going to change anytime soon. Like, I mean, there's a question later about the stadium we'll get to in a second here. But
boy.
But I just, because the big push now is to make Bank of America Stadium a stadium that can be used for all kinds of different things, from concerts to events to soccer matches and football games. Like, you're going to do artificial turf for that, like, because that's the only way you can do that reasonably well and not have the field turn into absolute garbage in October.
Yep.
So it's just, it is what it is. It's, I think both the Panthers and Charlotte FC would love for it to be natural grass. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So that's kind of where we are. All right. Let's back out of those two. Next question from Greg Fenwick. Also, you decide if you want to answer this seriously or answer it as what it maybe is intended to be. But Greg Fenwick also asked, if you're Dean Smith, how do you shut down Mackenzie Gaines this weekend?
So I'm just gonna put this out there for those who don't know. Mackenzie Gaines, friend of the show, came on year one.
Yeah.
So very, very kind individual, and still keeps in touch with a lot of Charlotte fans and players. So not going to talk bad or poor or anything like that with them, but he is now with the Houston Dynamo. So I don't know if you followed or not, Corey, but this offseason he signed with Nashville very early on in the season. He actually played, I think, 3 or 4 games with them and had an assist. And then I got traded to Houston. I haven't followed him since then. I do know, I think I saw on social media he got married. So, but to answer the question from Greg, how do you shut down Mackenzie Gaines? Well, I think we're all very familiar. Right? He's very quick, very fast. So hopefully Yuri is prepared for that if Mackenzie Gaines plays. But to be honest with you, I have not even watched a single Houston Dynamo game, I don't think ever. So I got to look and see what they run and those kind of things. I just know, Swift's favorite coach is coaching them. So, but that's true. Either here or there. But no, I think if you are having a game plan against him, if he is going to play for us, obviously, speed is one of his strong suits. He likes to push to that corner. The finishing and the crossing's not been his greatest while he was here with us. I don't know what it looks like now, but if you're going to do anything, let him get down in that corner and force him to try to create something from that space. Don't let him beat you one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. I think we're realizing, or people are realizing, why Matt Swift does the preview.
I was going to
say, well, when David's like, I've never watched a Houston Dynamo match in my life, not just this season. I've never watched them play soccer in my entire life.
Well, and this is again, I love that we started the Q&A with the most tactic driven questions, and we're like, dude, we're not the tactics guy. I don't know, man. So Swift, please come back from Ireland as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
and
we need you. We need you. What's the time difference there? Can we get him on next week and just have him he'd be like several beers deep.
Yeah.
And it'll be normal time for us. We'll have to record like mid-afternoon, but it'll be like evening for him. It'll be a great time. I think Greg was trying to goad us into giving Mackenzie a hard time, and I'm not going to. I like Mackenzie, so
I do too.
Not going to do it. All right,
not going to do it. Love you though, Greg. Thank you.
All right, next question's from Courtney L. Do we think Carroll flies across the pond or not? So there's a 2-part question. We'll start with that one. Does Carroll fly across the pond? I assume that means come back home to Charlotte. Not home to Charlotte. Come back to Charlotte. Yes or no? Just real quick answer.
I think real quick answer. I think 50-50 chance, just like what Swift was saying last time I talked to him about it. I think there's a good chance he could, but I think it all depends on his market now, especially since Poland's not in the Euros anymore. So I think the chances are there. I think technically his loan ends in 5 days. So
sounds right.
We shall see.
And again, we talked about this in the past. Like, this is a very different situation than when he left. I know ultimately he wants to be back in Europe, but if there's not a good opportunity for him, and I've seen some rumors. I feel like there are some rumors with other European clubs that may or may not come through. I feel like there was a Turkish club that came out or something like that. So he may still end up somewhere else. But I think, I have no idea what's kind of happening there. But like, if he doesn't have something lined up and he sees that we are a capable, well-coached team and he could get some nice minutes to play this summer before moving off again, why not? Unless he just needs a break. So who knows? We'll see. The second part of Courtney's question is, should we be in on Weston McKennie, which frankly I've had some busy days here, so I had to Google to understand what this was in reference to, and now I'm informed, so I got it. But should we be going after Weston McKennie? What do you think?
I mean, I would absolutely love Weston McKennie on our team. It would be great to have a U.S. men's national team player that's played in Bundesliga, Serie A, and Premier League play for us right before the World Cup plays the United States. And I mean, just you talk about having a face of the club, like that would be someone that would be a face of the club for Charlotte if he would ever come to us. So now, should we be in on it? I don't know, but the rumor was that Cincinnati is pursuing it. He took time away from the U.S. men's national team with Copa America training to go talk with FC Cincinnati. I think Tom Bogert has reported that Cincinnati is very serious about this and has already talked about with FC Dallas about his homegrown rights, which again, just the whole discovery rights, dibs, whatever you want to call it out there. These rules crack me up. But
well, he did play. So I had to look this up. But he did play his youth career at FC Dallas. So I think that's one of the more legit discovery rights situations.
Yeah,
not just like
it's very true.
It's not like what we did with just like it's not like the thing we pulled where it's like we discovered him.
Dibs. Yeah, dibs. Yeah.
I declare bankruptcy. No, it's not. It's not that.
Sporting Kansas City putting out like I had discovery rights of Ronaldo. You know what I mean? Like it's not anything like that. Yeah,
it's a little more legit, but it's still kind of a funny system that we have.
Yeah. But I mean, it would be great. Yeah, I just don't know if that's where we should be spending our money and based off our current roster build. But it would still be really cool to have someone like that, though. I mean, maybe if we eventually physically sign Tim Ream, he could put a nice word in for McKenzie or for Weston there. It'd be great.
All his national team buddies. Bring him on to Charlotte.
Right?
There we go.
Bring Pulisic too with you. It'd be great.
Okay, then let's just be clear. There's been no. I've never seen a single thing linking him to Charlotte. So like, there's nothing here. But I mean, I wouldn't say no if we got him for a good price. All right. Next question comes from Max. I'll probably get his name wrong. Bukovic. Do you know how to pronounce his last name?
I think that sounds right.
Bukovic. Yeah. All right. Max asks, how many more meme cards will get Topps now before the next FC cards? So as our resident card expert, which we also need another episode of that when it's a slow week, and maybe during the summer here when we have some breaks between matches, might need to see some more of that. So yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I will tell you, there's a card channel in Slack, and we are updated every week about like MLS Now cards, which is what this is in reference to. So they basically make cards off of big moments of the previous week, and it's like a burst because they come out with cards once a year, then they come out with these burst kind of moments. So like we had I got them right here actually. So you've got Yuri Tavares' first MLS goal. What was it, week 1 or 2? They had a card come out for that, and we're all like sitting here like, well, when is Kalina going to get one? Because it's been 9 clean sheets. When is Pat going to get one? His first brace and a win. All this, and of course they're not doing anything for Charlotte. But yet, and to Max's point here, they come out with things like Raquinho, which is the raccoon from the Philadelphia game. They come out with the New York Mets breaking the hot dog record of most sold and eaten hot dog baseball cards. And of course I have one because I was there. But so it's a very good point. Why are they making so many memes? Like they were making a joke about like the pink dolphin thing that came out and like somewhere recently, like having a card for that. And I don't know. Who knows, man? They'll make probably the Florida Panthers with the dead mouse on the ice recently for that versus make another Charlotte FC card. So we'll see. I hope that we get one here soon, though.
I really appreciate that you're like, why do they make these silly cards that I purchased and have
that I purchased and used right? Damn it, Corey! Don't poke holes in my logic, sir.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah. All right,
I do love the meme cards, but I also wish it would make some Charlotte FC cards. It'll be great, please.
Sure,
and thanks.
No, agreed. All right. Also for Max, a little more serious of a question. What, if any, impact will this new stadium actually have on FC, or will we forever be in the Panthers' shadows? That's a loaded way to ask that question, but just
very loaded question.
I'll do the quick backstory. Earlier this week, I believe it might have been Monday night, Charlotte Council approved the plan to do renovations to Bank of America Stadium. I believe $650 million is coming from the city, part of a much larger thing, but it also ties the Panthers and Charlotte FC to Charlotte for, I believe it's 20 years. 30 years, something in there. I can't remember the exact number, but it gets us to like 2030, 2044 or something like that. Is maybe that's 20 years, 20 years, 2044. There we go. We did math. tied the teams to us for a little bit longer, so that officially went through. Obviously, people have a lot of opinions on public money going to stadiums. This has been addressed on a previous episode, so we won't get too deep into it now. But just from a Charlotte FC perspective, what impact do you think this will have on the team versus, how it will impact the Panthers and that? What do you think?
So I have very strong opinions on this, but this is not the show for me to have those opinions
but
on here, because no one,
isn't it?
no, no one wants to tune in to a South Carolina resident bitching about tax money and the type
Look,
of renovations.
if I can complain about the wave and merging on I-277, you can complain about taxes. This is the show for it, I think.
All of a sudden the viewership and like everyone listening just plummeted with these two of us talking about this. But so I'll answer the question just from Max's perspective, because I won't touch on the other stuff, because if you want to get my opinions, you can see them on Slack, because I was very vocal the past 2 days on that. What impact will it have on Charlotte FC? I don't think it makes really much of an impact from a team or a player perspective. The things that it's renovating, I would say it's going to be more geared towards hosting more events, Panthers, and some fan experience stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're upgrading speakers, so that's going to help fan experience. They're going to update concessions and team store, again, fan experience for both Panthers and Charlotte FC. Do they need a big TV outside the stadium? That's neither here or there, because I'm inside the stadium. I'm not ever going to look at it during a game. But they might have some renovations outside that get changed and host some events out there from time to time. So I'm sure it's going to affect the fan experience a little bit, and I'm sure they're going to throw some Charlotte FC logos that are permanent somehow on that stadium eventually during that time, because that's the time to do it. I don't forever in the shadow of the Panthers. I don't know if that's the right term, but I guess kind of, because frankly, they're the main tenant. They make the most money. They bring in the most fans every week. It's the reality of having a dual team stadium. You got big brother, the Panthers, and little brother, Charlotte FC. Even if we win MLS Cup, the Panthers are the main draw in that stadium, not Charlotte FC, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. It's people don't like to hear that, and I get that. That's what it is. That's all I was gonna say too. Yep. Is that as long as they're gonna be pulling in more money, as long as they've been around for way longer. The Panthers, that's how it's gonna be. And I do hope, like you said, I hope there's some little things, like you said. I would love to see, on the big Bank of America Stadium thing that, it's at the top of the stadium on the back of the Jumbotrons, just throw the Charlotte FC logo up there. That's all I'd like to see. Little things like that would be nice. But outside of that, I think the main goal is fan experience. And that fan experience is whether you're there for a soccer match, whether you're there for a football game, whether you're there for a concert or something else. They're just going to be doing things to improve the fan experience. And that'll have an impact on Charlotte FC. You're talking about the screens outside, do we do away watch parties for playoff matches there or something like that? There's ways to kind of incorporate that. There's cool things you could do. But yeah, it's just the fact of it. And we're sharing a stadium. Charlotte FC sharing a stadium with the Panthers. They're owned by the same person. I think as long as investments are being made to the team in the right way on the field in the front office to where they're able to put a good product on the field, I think that's what matters to me more than what they do to the stadium to make it a soccer stadium, if that makes sense. So again, and I think maybe Matt mentioned this on one of the episodes previously that I wasn't on. But a lot of the changes that were made last time around were for soccer.
Correct. Yep.
That was why they were made. So they've done some things to focus on the soccer team when it started, which I think is great. Now it's more just there's some other things we need to do to the stadium because it's a pretty old stadium as far as things go. And the only thing I'd throw out of this to kind of poke the bear on this, but if you're someone who cares about public money and how it should be spent, I don't want us to build a soccer specific stadium for that reason. I don't want there to be millions more dollars spent on a whole separate stadium to have a soccer specific stadium. To me, it's we have a perfectly good stadium and field here. we share the stadium, and that way, that's, it's still a ton of public money that goes to that stadium. I get it. There's a lot of it there, but like that's kind of part of my reason of like why build a whole nother complex and stadium when we have Bank of America. Which, is it perfect? No. I mean, would I love a soccer specific stadium? Absolutely. But I think it makes a lot of sense to say we've already got this facility. It's in a great location right downtown. We can make it work for soccer, and we're going to have a really good experience there. And let's just use this same stadium. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and again, this is my last nugget on this because my frustration comes into play from that is you're renovating a stadium and then 20 years later you're going to start negotiating about a brand new stadium, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But I agree with you 100%. I mean, there's, as much as I would want a soccer specific stadium, public money, the space that, like, there's no other better space to have it in Charlotte, unfortunately, and it would not get any better to where it's at. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But no, we can move on from the question before we
start
getting into
if we start getting into the
NPR.
If we start getting into the future stadium thing, that part did make me mad, but I won't harp on it now. That's for another podcast. We can spend time talking about that. Anyway. All right, moving on. So from Spencer Coop, when do we announce a contract extension for Dean Smith?
I don't know. We were talking earlier on the show, and we had to Google this because we were both like, how long is this contracted for? And so they haven't released the numbers here, but it just says multi-year contract. So
I felt better when we had to Google it, and when we Googled it, there was no actual answer. I was like, okay, we didn't know because like I haven't actually seen it reported. It might be out there somewhere, but we didn't see it. Just said multi-year deal when it was announced back then. So yeah. What's your answer to this?
I would see how this year ends, which, I mean, obviously I think it's already been a good season from him. But you don't want to just throw the world at him for any coach out there, even if it's just their first season, because things come and go, whatever it is. But I've been very happy with Dean. I would be totally okay with an extension. My biggest fear, and this is just me being a Charlotte sports fan, pessimistic fan, is that like he has a great year this year, and then like halfway through the next season, it's like other teams come knocking, and it's like, okay, what do we need to do to keep him here long term?
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure, like, whatever his long term goals are. I mean, I know his son lives here, plays in Greenville, goes to school. He's got a home in Myrtle Beach, coastal area, kind of thing like that. So it seems like he's kind of happy here, and it seems like he's okay being here in the Carolinas. So I would kind of pull on those heartstrings a little bit and be like, hey, Dean, if you're getting poached to go somewhere else, like, sure you want to move from the Carolinas? I know it's only 120 degrees in July, but let's keep you here longer. So I would say at the end of the year, halfway through next year, whatever it is, work on that extension, get him here long term.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking midway through next year as well too. But like my thing is, to your point, we've got him for multi-years, so that means at least 2. So he'll be around next year. So I don't think it's a rush unless he start getting some offers from other places, and we want to make sure to keep him happy, because I think we need to do whatever we can to keep him here.
Yes, please.
As long as we can until the offer comes that he can't refuse. And then you do what you got to do. But I think we want to keep him here as long as possible. But I agree with you that I don't want to fall in the trap, and I really genuinely in my heart don't think we will. But you don't want to fall in the trap of throwing gobs of money and a long-term contract to a guy only to this be a blip. And again, I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. But
agreed.
I mean, we've played 20 matches with him,
right?
And
this isn't the Dean Smith of the Tar Heels that you want to keep for 20, 30 years, right? So
remember, I mean, he had a rough start. No, we won't go into Carolina lore, I promise. But they hung him an effigy from like the outside of the Coliseum. Craziness.
Yeah.
You got me on a sidetrack. But now they named a building after him. It's crazy.
Right.
But what I don't want to do is just throw gobs of money at him. I don't think we necessarily will, but like that's like it's like the Matt Rule worry that you throw a what was it, like 5 or 6 year contract and just
fully guaranteed craziness.
Like just like dollars at him, and he comes in and he did what he did. So you got to be careful with it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like, I think there's no rush or anything like that. I think you kind of see how next year goes. If it's a 2-year deal, obviously maybe a little earlier start working on it. If it's more like a 3-year something or other, maybe mid next year start looking at it. But I mean, I think unless something drastically changes, I I think it's really important for this team to have some stability in that position. So I think we do what we need to do to keep him there. So we don't have, 4 coaches in 5 years or whatever it might end up being. Like, I want Dean Smith to hang around for a few years to set a solid foundation for where this team can go. And I think he started that really well this year.
That's the only thing that makes me fearful was that MLS coaches, except for the exceptions like the Kirchens out there from Philly, usually even the good ones are gone 2 or 3 years from now. And that's the only thing that just worries me. So I hope that's not the case. I hope he stays here long term, but I also want to be mad at him if he does go somewhere bigger and better, because that's the life of a soccer fan, unfortunately. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not expecting him to be here for 20 years, like anything like that, by any stretch of the imagination. Like, that's not going to happen. But I just want him to be here long enough that it sets a good foundation so that, when he leaves, this team has an identity and a foundation and, a cohesiveness to it that someone can come in and put their own mark on it. But there's kind of the beginning of that legacy of success to move forward from. So, all right, let's move on to our next question from Russell Varner. We talked about this earlier, but with Westwood out this weekend, we already talked about who we'd replace, put on the field in place of Westwood. But Russell asks, with Westwood out this weekend, who do you give the captain's armband to?
I would go with either Brandt or, because you have to think about this is going to be the person that's going to be the main communicator to the referee, right? So I was thinking like maybe Malanda or, something like that. But I was like, well, is that really his personality to be the main person talking to the ref? No, not really. So you don't really want your keeper doing it, because then the keeper's going to have to run across the field. Like, that's not going to happen. So just based off process of elimination there, I would either say Brandt or, actually, I'm just talking myself, either that or Nathan Byrne, maybe. Because I know Nathan Byrne was actually voted when he was at his, derby before he was with us. He was like the captain, locker room main guy there in England for his team. So, but I would say Brandt or Nathan, one of the two.
We didn't prep this at all, but you did the exact thought process that I just did. And this is not me just copying it on my own answer. Like, legitimately, I went through the same exact process. I was like, all right, there's Malanda, but is that his personality? How, I don't know if it really makes sense, but he would make sense. But Klina, no, you don't want that to happen. Like a lot of the other guys. And then so I was like, oh, Bronico would be good. Yeah, like Bronico is one that I think, he's in that midfield role. He's a very big core part of this team over the first 3 years. I think it would make sense for him. But if not him, Byrne was the other one that was in my head. Like, those are the two that I think. We'll see it as if I had to put money on it, I think I would guess Bronico, but I think it would likely be one of those two as well. And I'm fine with both of those. I think that would make sense. So
it'd be a good stopgap until the captain comes back. It's good.
Captain, there's one and only captain. All right. Just keep moving. We're getting to some of our fun questions, which we always enjoy our fun questions. So Courtney L is back with a question that I quite frankly find offensive, which is why is crunchy peanut butter superior to smooth? I'll let you answer first.
So it's funny. I know you said like it just offends you just hearing that read out loud. As a kid, I thought crunchy peanut butter was the superior one. As a kid, I was like, yeah, I love the crunch and I want the chunks of peanuts in there. But as I've gotten older, maybe it's just because I'm like, I don't want to just like chew on it like I'm a horse or something like that, like on peanut butter the whole time. But like, no, I got to go with smooth, man. Like that's you got to get nice, creamy, smooth peanut butter. That's the go-to. That's the goat.
It's the best. Like, this is just this question is just fundamentally wrong. I don't know, Courtney.
We're gonna get a lot of hate mail probably with this because because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, like Reese's Cups, the original Reese's Cup, which is like my favorite candy by the way, is creamy, smooth peanut butter instead of a chocolate cup. They don't do crunchy, but then I had to think about, I'm like, no, they started coming out with crazy stuff with like crunchy peanut butter and chips in there and pretzels and just crazy stuff. But that's not the question. But no, I think creamy is the way to go.
And I'm a big peanut butter fan. That's a weird thing to say.
Oh, yeah. I'm really passionate about peanut butter.
But it's true. It's the problem.
Yeah.
It's actually true. I have strong opinions on like style and brand, and to the point where my wife, who's also named Courtney, but this is Courtney L, so it can't be my wife unless she just used an alias. We both like smooth, but we disagree on brand and type, so that's a whole other thing.
Ooh. So what brand do you go with then, Corey?
I like the Jif Natural.
Okay,
So
yeah,
the
I just
natural
fixed my that
one.
last night. Yeah,
Because I like natural peanut butter. Now we're going on a rabbit hole. This is gonna be like a 2-hour podcast about peanuts and peanut butter now. I like natural because I don't need the extra sweetness or anything like that, right?
Sure.
Like I love peanuts. Give me peanuts. So I like the natural, but what I hate is having to stir the oil in the peanut butter, right? And so my wife loves the HT Traders, Harris Teeter Traders, like natural peanut butter, but it's the kind you got, it comes in there and it's a, inch of oil, and you got to sit there and dig into it for 10 minutes before you can ever eat the peanut butter.
And then it's
you
too
make a
oily,
mess.
and it's like,
You've made a mess everywhere. There's oil over your hands, and like it's terrible. And then you have the refrigerator. It's the whole thing. This is like ridiculous first world problems. But like I don't like that. So I have my Jif Natural. Anyway, when I go to the grocery store, I buy that. She buys the other stuff. But either way, it's smooth. Like that's just the one answer. Like you want the smooth peanut butter on your PB&Js or on your crackers or whatever it might be. Like that's just this. If you want to eat peanuts, eat peanuts. I don't want to eat peanuts when I'm eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Or if you want to,
different experiences.
You can get your creamy peanut butter and sprinkle peanuts on it if you're really that desperate to have it. If you want.
I guess that's true. It's the next level. I like that.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a very unrelated thing about Haberdish. I don't know if I'm going to go to that story or not, but it just sparked an idea for me. But go ahead.
So I was going to say two things here, just because one, Corey, I love that you get very passionate about driving and exit lanes, peanut butter, and like the wave. So we're learning a lot about Corey here.
I was offended because of the assumption that crunchy peanut butter is better, but I'm also offended because I think this was a targeted question, give me a rant about something. So this is what we're doing now.
So a little bit off topic here, and this is a Southern thing here. So you're from the South, right, Corey? So and it involves peanuts, and again, we're going down a huge rabbit hole. But we'll just ask this one question.
I know where you're going.
Do you put peanuts, or have you ever put peanuts in a Dr. Pepper, and then drank the Dr. Pepper while eating the peanuts at the same time?
So I always did that was a Pepsi. We always did it
or Pepsi or
so
Coke.
Probably like whatever. But yes. Yeah. Okay. Not often. Like I know it's a thing. I've done it like once. It's not a thing I do a ton, but yes, I've done it. I also love boiled peanuts. And you have to say boiled. You can't say boiled. It's boiled peanuts.
I picked up a bag of boiled peanuts today in Aiken on the way to work. So I'm right there with you. I picked up a nice bag, fresh boiled peanuts on the way.
So good. Every now and then my wife would just like make a big like pot on the stove, just boil a bunch of peanuts. And then also what I love to do at soccer matches is, like second half, I'll go get like my second beer. I'll get the bag of peanuts and I'll eat like half of them in the stadium, then roll it up and then take it home. And then when I'm watching like, MLS 360 for the late matches and see what's going on, I bust out the second half of the peanuts and eat them right there on the couch. And it's an amazing experience. So
I love peanuts, man.
Peanuts are great. And they're great when you can open them and eat them and have that experience. I don't want crunchy peanut butter. If I want to crunch on a peanut, I'm going to eat peanuts. This might be the longest answer we had of this Q&A.
Just wait till the last question, sir.
Oh, that's right. This is going to be a long episode. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Max is back with a question. What is your favorite pizzeria in Charlotte? The reason I guess Max asked this question is it came out, was it today or yesterday or something like that?
Yeah.
That Bird Pizzeria in Charlotte was ranked the number 22 pizza place by the New York Times. I've never been to Bird, so I can't speak on that. But do you have a go-to pizza spot in
so this is going to be, this is just probably the same thing with the peanut butter question. I'm going to offend someone out there because they're going to say, no, this pizza is the best way and this, everything like that. I haven't lived in Charlotte in 3 years now, so it might be a little rusty. And I will just say, like, this was my go-to because I associate it with being a kid and also a teenager. But Duamici's there in like North Charlotte near University, Highland Creek area, that was my go-to pizza place because it was kind of like you can go in there and buy it by the slice or get a whole pie, whatever you want to do. New York style wasn't too thick, not too thin. That was my go-to place. Now, do I know anything better than that right now? Probably not. And I'm sure if Sean McIntosh from the team's listening, he's like, he's just gripping and breaking pencils right now listening to this. But what about you, Corey? You got a go-to pizza place?
You know, it'd be hilarious just to come on here and be like Domino's.
There's a little place called Little Caesars. They have them really hot and ready for us, ready to go.
There's this really this is my favorite New York pizza place is Sbarro's.
There you go. What it comes down nice authentic slice of there you go. Office check for everybody. Love it.
No, I love pizza, but I'm also not a pizza snob, and not there's anything wrong with that. I'm not calling people on it, but I love pizza because it's really hard to make bad pizza. Like even, a slice of Domino's is not good, but sure. It's bread and cheese and marinara sauce and some toppings. Yeah. Like it's fine. So I'm not one of those that like gets really into my pizza ranking. So like I probably am not the best person to ask this question to. I will say one near me that I really like that I don't know if other people know about it or go to it, but Sal's Pizza Factory on Monroe Road.
Oh, is a good little place. Heard of that, yeah.
I think it's technically New Jersey style. I don't know what that means. Someone will probably tell me. I think they're New Jersey style pizza, but they're really solid. They do some good stuff there, especially for like across the street of Vaulted Oak. Get some pizza from there and do that. So I'd have to shout them out as probably right now my go-to spot that I'll get some pizza from.
Awesome, man. Well, Max, thanks for the question. If you have pizza or peanut butter suggestions, be sure you tag us and share it on the show and tag Corey on Threads. So
I do want to try Bird. Oh, two more. I'm going to throw out two more random things.
Okay.
Seaboard Brewery down in Matthews.
Oh yeah.
Has a little pizza shack. Again, I'm not saying it's the best pizza in the world, but like for just a little pizza shack inside, great. And then I forgot my other one. That's great.
Oh, I got to plug Salud. I was going to say that. Salud. It's good. Great pizza.
Salud's very good too. So that's where I was going to go as well. So and I need to try out Bird. Apparently, it sounds very good, but I haven't been there yet.
Well, right. I have to take over the Q&A now, Corey, because there was a question that came up in Slack about an hour before we recorded the show. And it's, of course, our friend Russell Varner, good old Rusty, put an amazing question in Slack, and it sparked a huge debate. And I captured all the answers here. And I'm just going to do a speed round for us. We're not going to be here for an hour. I just want to get your initial reaction. And then I want you just to think through these, and I want you to pick the best one. Okay? His question was... Russell says Brandt has a beer.
Yep.
Ashley Westwood has a beer. So if you haven't checked them out, they both come out. Hopfly. Ashley Westwood just came out. He says, quote unquote, it is crushable, is what he said to me over the weekend when he got a chance to try it.
I love that term for beer. I don't know why. It just always makes me laugh when he says it's a crushable beer. I just think like taking the can, like slam it against your forehead.
Yeah, exactly. Revenge of the Nerd style, just like So, he says, who is the next player to get a beer and what would it taste like? So not only did he want this to be a question for us, but then Slack delivered. So I'm going to pull some of these up. I want you to pick the best one. Okay. So Max says the Kalina Kolsch. Stuart says the Afterburner Jalapeno Stout. Sam says You Got Burned, which is a mango jalapeno IPA. Very specific. Bryant says Breck's Belgian Double. Double. Sorry.
Double.
Jay says the Alderson Amber, which I think we all know what that's going to taste like a little bit. Richard went all out, so I'm going to pull these two answers up, and they're a little long-winded, but I love it. Richard says the Brandt Bronica's bourbon barrel aged British barley wine. It's a 13% ABV, aka BB13. Doesn't look imposing, but it'll knock you on your ass if you don't show it some respect. So that's definitely up there for me. And then he also followed that up with the Ajimang's Altbia has a malty richness with an assertive bitterness that can be overwhelming when young, but with a bit of conditioning, matures into a well-balanced classic beer. So out of all of those, Corey, do you have one better, or do you have a favorite out of all of those that I just read?
So that description is incredible. That one's very good. I'm typically an IPA person in the warmer months, but I don't like fruity IPAs. So the mango jalapeno, I'm not doing that. So I think I was almost gonna pick the Afterburner jalapeno stout from Stewart because one, we just talked about how much I love watching Nathan burn. But
Yep.
and also like a good spicy stout. I'm here for that.
Interesting. Yeah.
That sounds really good. I like the spice there. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Brant Bronico's bourbon barrel aged British barley wine for two reasons. Well, three reasons probably. There's multiple reasons. One, I like the BB13 was really good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the alliteration. There's a lot of
Yes.
B's here. This is
Yes.
great. I'm a huge fan of that. And then the description doesn't look imposing, but will knock you on your ass if you don't show it respect. Brilliant. And also, that's a style of beer that I would absolutely love to drink in very small quantities and enjoy in the winter months. So I'm gonna have to go with that one for all the reasons above. How about you?
I agree with you 100%. So when I first saw the question, I started thinking through, trying to think of something witty, and then I saw all of these, and I was like, mine's nowhere near close to being witty enough. But the one that I was thinking something along the lines of like a Kalina stout because he's a stout keeper, or like the brick wall stout or a stout brick wall just because all the clean sheets. But none of mine are as amazing as the Brant Bronico's bourbon barrel aged British barley wine. So
good.
Love it, Richard. Thank you for sharing that.
I truly appreciate that they answered the question so we didn't have to, because their answers are every single one of them is better than anything I would have come up with on the spot. So I'm very happy with all those. That's really good stuff. And now I'm thirsty. My Diet Coke didn't cut it, so now I need a little sip of one of those.
These pretzels are making me thirsty, so I'm glad that we got some beers that we can do. So
good. I want to go eat a PB&J with smooth peanut butter, and then have a bourbon barrel aged British barley wine.
One last derailing thing, and then we'll end the show because this is totally long for two non-soccer experts.
This is the problem with the two of us to get on here. Like, Matt can't shut us down. We get on weird tangents.
Speaking of PB&J, and speaking of Salud made this beer called Summer Camp or Beer Camp, I believe. Yep. And it was a PB&J IPA. And they had two versions of it. There was one with the grape jelly peanut butter, and there was one of the apple, or no, it was like green jelly or apple jelly or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But the green can one was, wow, I haven't seen it in a while. So, Jason, if you're listening, make it again. I would love to pick some up.
That sounds good. I haven't had that one. But I don't remember which brewery it was, so I won't call them out on it. But there used to be a peanut butter jelly beer in Charlotte that I just couldn't get behind because it had that. Was it peanut butter jelly time? Was it Catawba? Was that who did it?
It was Catawba. I was about to say Catawba had peanut butter jelly time.
I guess I can talk about them because they don't exist anymore in Charlotte, at least. But
I don't think they exist at all, do they?
I don't think they exist still either. But they had that. It had that very artificial, like peanut butter and jelly flavor, like like the Crustable style peanut butter and jelly, where it's like not really peanut. Like there's clearly some stuff in here that's not natural Jif. And I don't like that flavor. And so I'm very picky about like if you're gonna do that kind of flavoring, it needs to be like a good version. And again, I haven't had Salud. Salud does an amazing job about all their beers and food, so I'm sure it's delicious. But that's where I'm picky at. It's like I like the flavor, but it's gotta be the authentic version. Yeah.
I have to backtrack because Catawba does exist still. They're in Asheville still.
I thought they were still at one location.
Sorry.
They're not in Charlotte anymore.
They're not in Charlotte anymore. Sorry, Catawba folks, if you're listening. I love your. I did love the Charlotte location was there, but sorry for that. Sorry, I killed you guys for a second there.
No, all good. All right. Anything else we want to rant about? For we've only been going.
No, I'll save it. I'll save it for Threads. I'm going to jump back on Threads tonight, and then I'll get back on there with you. So I'll save it for Threads. It'll be good.
Follow us on Threads. You can follow me on Threads because that's definitely the only place that I'm actually looking. So if you want to find me on Threads. Every now and then I say I get tagged on Twitter, and I just don't open it. So it's not because I don't like you. I just don't want to open the app. So that's how it is.
So tag Corey. Just tag him a bunch.
It's fine. It's fine. The notifications are off. Just every now and then I'll just see something happen on my email or something. And it's like, oh, that's a thing.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, David. Enjoyed hanging out. It's good to be back on our regular weekly episode schedule. I'm sure we'll be back later this week with soccer and coffee. If not, we won't have a preview episode because Matt's going across the pond. So
And you guys don't want us to preview it. It's fine.
as has been made very clear, you don't want our tactical discussion about what's going to happen in Houston. Because I don't think David knows that Houston exists before this show. But yeah, so I think we'll try to do maybe some soccer and coffee if we have time for that on Saturday morning. But if nothing else, we'll be back with you next week to recap our match against Houston. In the meantime, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.
See you guys.